Let's go see what your reading has to say. I'm going to start with your past 2 cards. I did a clarification card for the past 2. And over in the past, you received the King of Swords and the 3 of Pentacles. Now, the King of Swords is like a mini emperor. The emperor runs his empire, and the king runs his kingdom with rules and regulations, verbal and written. He's the apex of structure and organization, and evidently that's the way you've recently been running your life. Everything's been in its place. And he's also one that's exchanged his chainmail for a courtroom and makes judgments. And he oversees words and the validity of the words. And what type of accolades or punishment should be weighed with these words. Now the clarification card is the 3 of Pentacles. I call this the Architect card. It's about building, construction. And it's also about a lot of people being on the same page and supporting this structure. So your past has been very positive. But in a funny way, it's been kind of somewhat sterile. And you've focused on the more material things and not the spiritual things. And that's where it comes in the base of your spine. You receive the Hermit and the Fool. In your own little private universe, you started to think that maybe you should do some soul searching and some self-discovery. Because that's what the Hermit is about. There's an ethereal aura that you felt was missing, and you wanted to find it. You desired to change your unconscious self. And what better to have a clarification card of the Fool? A journey of self-discovery and where your little mini-universe fits into the big picture. You're looking for enlightenment from the Hermit's lamp and guidance from his staff. Wisdom equals good judgment, and you've had good judgment on the earthly plane in your past. Now you want to have a new awakening, or a reawakening. Something that makes you feel alive again and feel the delight of life. And happy to be alive. You want to find your higher self and open it up like the blossom of a flower. Bring all the energy in. And wisdom is about good judgment. And as you see in the center for the heart of the matter, you see the Judgment card and the Hermit. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go up to the upper cards above the Hermit and the Fool. And for your sacrum and your pelvic for awakening and arousing, you receive the 6 of Cups and the World card. Now the 6 of Cups is about memories. Childhood memories. And not all of them are good. Sometimes we have our rose-colored glasses on and we idolize, and distort the past. And when we take our rose-colored glasses off, we find disappointment. So a lot of times you don't want to take these glasses off. But here for the clarification card of the World, it's saying that you're coming to an end of a cycle. You're in completion. All of a sudden, you're saying, yeah, I'm going to push this past aside. And just remember the good things. I am so done with the past you're thinking. And you learned a lot of harsh lessons. And you earned your wings to finally set this all aside. And now you're changing. And that's reinforced by the cards up above for your solar plexus. You receive the Moon and the Tower. 2 commanding cosmic major arcana cards. You know, you went past the nature of man cards and the awakening cards and went right into now the major cosmic change cards. And it is, you're looking for a spiritual change. And you realize from the Moon card that things weren't what they really appeared to be. The reflective light of the moon can instill fear and distort the path that you're walking. It can give it a dreamy atmosphere of surrealism. And the next natural thing to happen is the collapse of the tower. This wasn't just fault lines running underneath the tower. This is a collapse. It's not a fatal collapse. It was a predetermined collapse, that it was time to let go of your past. And Libras are always trying to balance things out. And in the past you had a heavy weight on one side for your materialism, but you weren't dealing with your spiritualism. And all of a sudden spiritualism had more meaning to it. You wanted to find a deeper meaning to life. And now you're dealing with your unconscious self and trying to connect it to your conscious foreself. You're trying to make peace in your inner self. And this is reinforced by the center cards for the heart of the matter. You see the Judgment and Hermit. Now you could be judging somebody, but I believe you were more like judging yourself. And the Judgment card is about forgiveness and grace. Grace is unconditional forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself and others. And when you do, this is when you're ready for a rebirth. And being the phoenix that arises from the combustion of a small ball of myrrh. And this is where you rediscover yourself and do a reawakening. Because you see the clarification card, the Hermit, he has his lamp right over Judgment. He's looking for enlightenment. He's looking for the illumination of light. And illumination means enlightenment, spiritual enlightenment in Latin. Your discovery is you. You're trying to balance out the material and the spiritual inside you. Now down at the throat, for communicating and teaching, you receive the Eight of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. The material things in your life have worked out, and also you have many talents and skills. And you've utilized these skills to forward yourself in life, but the Page of Swords he's very immature and doesn't have a lot of emotional control. And I think that's where you were at too, is that spiritually you lacked emotional control of your spiritual self. The Page of Swords is one of those party crashing kind of guys that everybody looks and sees him come through the door and goes, oh no, he's here again. He's really charming and he's full of all kinds of ideas. Pages bring ideas and news. Knights launch these ideas into action. Queens bring understanding after some experience. And kings assist you in attaining your long-term goals. So now this is kind of indicating that although you're a skilled and talented person, earthly-wise, you're still a neophyte or feeling that way in the spiritual realm. Now up above in your third eye for seeing and envisioning, you receive the Wheel of Fortune and the King of Wands. Now the wheel is on your side. The fates of fortune are on your side. This is a window of time to jump through because it's an auspicious time to take advantage of what the wheel offers. And the King of Wands is about inspiration, determination. He's fire energy. He's the thinker, the problem solver. He can also be the harbinger of spiritual transformation, and that's what you're doing with the Hermit and the Fool. The Wands bring a creative atmosphere into the party. And up above for the Crown for knowing and understanding, you receive the King of Cups and the Three of Pentacles. Now you had the Three of Pentacles down in the past. This is the same energy. Down in the past, you've got the King of Swords and the Three of Pentacles, and up here you've got the King of Cups and the Three of Pentacles. We got three kings commiserating here. And as I said, kings assist you in attaining your long-term goals. And you haven't stopped building. But the King of Cups is about controlling your emotions and not being the Page of Swords down there. He's about taking turbulent waters and making them quiescent. And balancing your unconscious inner self with your conscious foreself. He wants you to master your passionate, emotional self for this spiritual renewal. And between the King of Swords and the King of Cups, you want to balance your intellect with your emotions. Now, we've discussed the connection between your past and your crown, so let's skip over to the future. And you receive the Seven of Cups and the Ace of Wands. And the Tower collapsed for a rebuilding. It's time for you to make some decisions, because the Seven of Cups is about difficult decisions. Right now you have some splayed energy. And it's time to reorganize and be the King of Swords again. But each cup holds a prize or a poison, and you have to be real careful about what you choose. And you have to decide which cups to choose and which to lose. But the clarification card is the Ace of Wands, and it's a cosmic spiritual new beginning. So it's saying, yeah, you'll make the right decisions here. Because the Ace of Wands is saying this is the beginning of a fruitful endeavor for ingenuity, physical challenges, and sexuality. It's like heaven is giving the earthly plane a message of good fortune. And it's time to take on new ventures with passion. And it's time to firmly grip your wand and take control of your life's direction. Let's go over the Two of Wands and see what's going on. Now, this is about making your visions into a reality, but you haven't launched anything right now. You're just in the planning stage. And there's choices to be made. You're just shaping these possible visions into ideas and then maybe putting them on the drawing board. This card has a significant possibilities for potential and new opportunities. But you really have to make a decision between whether you want to stay in your comfort zone or change everything and maybe go back out into the world. And you're wondering, is this just a promise and a wing and a prayer? Or is this the real deal? You know, it's like you've got one foot out the door and one still in the doorway. I remember when I was always going to do something, I'd tell my mother that I'd made a big decision. And I was grabbing for the doorknob, and she'd go, well, if that's the way you want it. And that was her little guilt trip. Are you sure? Which way are you going? And this card, too, is saying that you're in a fork in the road. You know, when you see the appearance of this card, it can even indicate that dreams will come true, but you have to go out into the world and start shaking the fruit trees to get the fruit to drop onto the ground. And you know, all two cards indicate decision and planning, partnership and balance. And this indicates a prosperous time for unions, friendships, and alliances. But now you have to prepare for the trip that you're going to be taking before you embark on any voyage. And this card can also say that there's going to be some kind of sudden departures or changes in venue that'll be associated with the choices that you make. Now the Nine of Cups is the wish card. It's about happiness and contentment. I always say curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought him back, because that indicates satisfaction and contentment. You know, you've worked hard and kept your eye on the prize, and you achieved some of your goals. It's kind of like you're all dressed up and you got a place actually to go. This card indicates good fortune and contentment that overflows into a spiritual realm of inner peace. Life is balanced and everything feels good. This is a time to revel over the joy of life, the thrill of just being alive. You could be attending some social event of the season, and truly there is a lot of things going on in the Northern Hemisphere now that has gone from spring to summer. There's a lot of graduations and weddings. So really it is time to start going out into the world. That's what the Two of Wands is saying too. Now the High Priestess is a little different than that, because instead of the earthly, she's the cosmic. You know, she brings messages down from the cosmos to the earth. And it's really up to you to be vigilant enough to hear her subtle messages, because they don't come real boldly. There's not a neon blinking sign going, go to this direction. You know, it's really just through dreams and intuition and coincidences, premonitions, things that you really never connected the dots until hindsight, which is 2020, and all of a sudden you look back and says, all of these things were connected. You know, she portends a meditative, reflective time for you to mull over some of the new knowledge that you've acquired from her before you make any rash decisions. Now for the roll of the dice, you received Libra, the North Node, and the first house. The North and South nodes are mathematical points that take into account the relationships between the Sun, the Moon, and the Earth. The North Node of the Moon can be loosely interpreted as the purpose or destiny of your life, and all eclipses occur near the lunar nodes, where the Moon's path crosses the Sun's path in the sky. You know, before I go on, I want to point out that you received Libra in the roll of the dice, and I'm reading for you, Libra. So this is a kind of a double dipping thing. There's going to be some stronger energy involved in this. Now here for the first house that you received, it covers the self and ego, as in me, myself, and I, or me. Numero uno, or number one, is taking priority right now. But with the presence of the North Node, you invited we to the me party. However, you're vacillating and juggling actions between the independent me and the relationship happiness we. However, too much compromise destroys the identity of the me you that you've been probably meticulously grooming. Diplomacy and peacemaking is challenged with selfishness and the me first attitude that's rearing its ugly head right now. Libra resides in the partnership house, but he booted the we partner out of the house and is now flying on one wing. Life feels unbalanced, and your scales are not in equilibrium, and that takes you out of your comfort zone. But you have a plan with the presence of the Two of Wands. And if you notice, the High Priestess is also a number 2 card for decisions, balance, and partnership. So okay, the stage is set and the props are in place. And now the Nine of Cups pulls in as a completion card, and it sprinkles good fortune all over this diabolical plan that is burning in the back of your overactive mind. You want to get the we back together again and still have the me feeling comfortable. And in order for you to do this, you need a quick message brought by your sponsor, the High Priestess.